More now on the easing of the lockdown restrictions, and the hospitality industry mercifully was thrown a lifeline this week with the relaxation of those regulations. The Federated Hospitality Association of Southern Africa says it is welcome news, and it hopefully means, I guess, that business is also going to retain staff. But others in the sector are saying it's perhaps a little too late. With me now from the association, the national chairperson, Rosemary Anderson. Good afternoon to you and welcome. Answer that question for me. Is all of this too little, too late? Can this be a sector that is salvageable?
Yes, Jeremy, I'm afraid that might be the case in some businesses' instances. Federated just recently conducted a survey, and 72% of our, or majority of our, sorry, let me start again. 72% was the indicated decline projection for the months of February, March, and April. So if you just look at that number, it just doesn't work. The problem is people are working off such a low base because they're already financially compromised. So to go into trying to salvage themselves now, it is really, really difficult. We're obviously very grateful of the restrictions being lifted, but people are coming off a very low base.
And when you talk about those people coming off the low base, it's not the big operators, isn't it? It's the small businesses in this tourism sector that are inevitably going to wither and die, and the chances of coming back are very, very difficult, if not impossible.
Actually, Jeremy, it's both. Some of the large group hotels, like all your big brands, they are struggling tremendously. You know, all the big areas like Stanton, Cape Town, Durban, they haven't even opened some of the hotels yet. So it's actually from your large all the way down to your small. So everyone has been equally negatively affected. There's some smaller areas which seem to be doing fine, but generally the projections are really negative for the next while.
What is the next while, Rosemary Anderson? A couple of months? A year?
No, I think, unfortunately, it's going to be until we actually get this pandemic under control. And obviously, we all know that depends on the rollout of the vaccines. And that's why the vaccine rollout is so imperative to the survival of hospitality in our industry. I'll be honest, waiting for the second quarter for some of the vaccines to arrive is just not going to work. Remember, all the big operators depend on international tourism and business tourism, and that's totally dried up. So that won't resume until we've actually got the vaccines totally rolled out in our country. People aren't going to come to South Africa if they know that we haven't got the same type of schedule that they've got in their countries.
Do you think that your members are going to have to increase margins to make up for lost revenue?
Well, it's an interesting question you ask. So because of the environment, it's very, very difficult to increase your turnover. And we know that we're already working in a recession. So I think what our industry is trying to do is to reduce costs. And that's where FitHouse is trying to play a role. We've actually approached a number of entities to try to get group costs reductions for our members. Because we're working in such a limited space. You just can't go out and do big marketing campaigns or anything like that. You've really got to more look at your margins and reduce your costs. And unfortunately, the biggest cost for all of us in hospitality is employee costs. And that's such a pity because we obviously need to create jobs in South Africa. But that is the biggest cost.
I understand the situation is very fluid right now. I also understand that your sector has got to be judicious. You have to be diplomatic. But I can't help but wonder whether an organization like FedHouse, like the liquor industry, could not have been more robust in challenging government and perhaps pursuing a more aggressive legal strategy.
Well, we actually are challenging a legal strategy at the moment with regards to the extension of the Bargaining Council. We're going to be having an urgent interdict shortly against the Department of Employment and Labour. So when it comes to areas where we feel we actually we've got a legal case, we actually do that. And FitHouse is going to be doing that. It's going to be launched next week or the week after. However, when it comes to COVID and safety, it's such a difficult balance, Jeremy. You know, you don't want to be seen mercenary or just a capitalist, you know, trying to pursue your surviving business. At the same time, people are dying. So it's been such a difficult balance. And I hear what you say, but we really have tried to put pressure on as much as we possibly could, and including at NEDLAC, which is the avenue that we represented, where we've been able to actually put the cases forward. So we have indicated things like closing the beaches down when it wasn't the tourist season anymore, things like that. Just none of it made sense to us, and we really were vociferous in that. We really did present that case. And the same thing in the alcohol section too. We felt there could have been more moderation instead of just cutting out a whole industry.
Just a final question. What about your fight with the short-term insurers? I read that you've called on insurers to, and I quote, do the right thing and settle such claims in full. But this fight is far from over, from what I can discern.
It's gone quite a long way. Some of them are doing it now, but sometimes holding out, they're trying to only pay 3 months as opposed to the 6, 9, or 18 or 12 months that have actually been in the policy. So we're still pushing that too. And it's such a great pity that proudly South African companies like that, at a time where the country is in such crisis, hasn't been part of the solution to our industry. They've actually been part of the problem. It's such a disappointment.
The organisation is the Federated Hospitality Association of Southern Africa. We know it better as FedHasa. That's the national chairperson, Rosemary Anderson. This is Wednesday lunchtime.